Welcome back to Echo Ridge. Today is going to be one of those episodes that I probably should have split into two. We have a lot to do today. I was considering starting the automation for all the critters, using auto sweepers to dump all their eggs into a room to where they just naturally evolve on their own. Because if you remember from last episode, I want more of the seals to stay alive so they can eventually turn into some of this sweet, sweet tallow. The good news, as instructed to me by the comments, despite this little message that says the deep fryer is outside of the kitchen, well, it still works. So we are busy making some wonderful squash fries. In fact, we're up to over 266,000 squash fries calories. And plenty more where that came from, considering we have a back stock of 1,589 kilos worth of tallow. Well, the squash fry recipe only requires 1 kilo, which means even from the amount of seals that we had maintained, well, I can make 1,678 more batches of squash fries. And since we're only running 2 mammoths, we don't end up eating all the plum squashes, so we're gonna have some squash fries for a little while. Eventually, I might plant some more plum squashes, possibly somewhere else, and that way we can sustain ourselves completely on squash fries once we get down through the surplus of both tallow and plum squashes. And the reason is pretty simple. Squash fries are equivalent to barbecue and are giving us the +8 morale because they're a good quality food at +3. A minor little change is I added a duplicate motion sensor in here and replaced the weight plate, and that way no matter if a duplicate is in here using the backcountry grill or the deep fryer, the light will turn on and they'll get the well lit buff. But the reason why I decided to hang back on doing changes to the critter ranches is due to the snow situation. You can see that I backed off the amount of bonbon trees and are starting to catch up based on that number of bonbon trees and have 460 kilos worth of snow. But this isn't really the direction I want to go in. Now, eventually I'm going to have an ice maker industry for the simple reason that all of our alveoli veras sustain themselves on ice. Without ice, our duplicates will eventually stop breathing. Yes, right now we have over 360 tons, and there is plenty more throughout the map. It would take a very long time to run out of that ice. But you know me and how I like to play the game, I look at infinite sustainability, and so I see this problem thousands of cycles from now, even if I'm not actually playing the colony then, and it sort of makes me tweak. But I like nectar. Not only is it giving us the sweet, sweet tallow and sustain the seals, well, it also gives us a supply of ethanol and nectar. Ethanol from the spigot seals and nectar from the bonbon tree itself. So what can we do to make this situation better? Well, just not feeding the bonbon trees snow. And that is where our challenge lies today. Or at least part of it. Like I said, we have a lot to do. So if we don't want to feed them snow, it means we're going to have to wild plant these. The bonbon tree has a temperature range that goes from -75 to -15. And our wild planting specialists in the pips don't really thrive in that environment, but they can survive. In fact, the pips can go all the way down to -30. So then I start looking for a place that has a lot of natural tiles and a temperature range that will sustain both the bonbon trees and the pips, at least temporarily until the pips get all the bonbon trees planted. If we go down to our relative temperature, I can put it on a -20, and you can see that our options are not great. And that's why I've started setting this up. This area is sitting under -30 degrees and has some natural tiles that we can use, but we need more. Well, there's a little known, no, I'm not going to call it an exploit, we're going to call it a secret, that if you deconstruct a manual airlock that's surrounded by 7 tiles, well, you end up with a natural tile in its place. So I can just deconstruct all of these wonderful manual airlocks, and we are left with a bunch of natural tiles. Granted, I don't like the fact that this says it's a buried object in here. This one came out just fine though. Oh, I see it now. When I build the door, that debris is still in there, so I probably need to do a sweep before I build all these doors, at least if we want everything nice and neat. Now, we don't have to do that in every spot, because some places have decent tiles, but I don't want to plant the bonbon trees in ice because that will eventually be turned into a problem as well. But for instance, this granite is going to be just fine. The abyssalite though, pips can't plant into it. And then all I have to do is sort of sustain the temperature in this area and then put the pip to work. But there's another issue that we have to contend with. These steam turbines have been running at about 90% of the time in the last 5 cycles. As such, the nectar can't keep up, or rather at least the thermo-aqua tuner can't keep up. Now, I'm not worried about the thermo-aqua tuner and 5 steam turbines, as long as they're not running this often, which means I need more power before I can even think about doing another project. So it's time to crack into this geovent, and this area is a mess. All I'm gonna do is sort of duplicate this whole system and just stick it right here. Now, this is gonna take me probably 30 minutes to an hour, but since we just did this in the video last episode, there's no reason to waste all of your time with it. Before I go, I did find another dupe. This turner here is frost-proof, which is always a bonus, and they're a +9 supplier. Their only disadvantage is that they're an unpracticed artist. Don't worry, buddy. You and me both. And since it would be great to have some additional duplicate labor, we're going to go ahead and pick this one up, even though they only have one interest. They'll still eventually do all the things. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 13, Brian Matzik. Now, Brian is going to need someplace to live, so I do have to build another barracks, and unfortunately, this whole thing is in the way. So I think what I'm going to do is just build tiles up to push all of our debris storage up into this tile, and that way we can put in some nice beds. And there we go. Brian now has their own room, and by default, they will not be able to exit, so all their work is going to be inside here or just running on that wheel. You're doing a great job, Brian. Also helping us out is going to be this Meemaw. Once again, not a spectacular dupe, although they will start off with a +8 to athletics, which means I'll be able to get them out and about working much quicker. Gourmet and interior decorator, that works just fine. Although, as a note, gourmet and interior decorator are also sort of negatives. Yeah, this Meemaw would be better at cooking and making art, but as such, they're not going to get as high of a food morale bonus or as high as a decor morale bonus. And the irritable bowel, no big deal. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 14, Little Alien. As I'm building this, I wanted to stop and give you a couple quick notes. We are just going to core out around it, making sure that we have enough room for 5 steam turbines. Now, some of this obsidian is really hot. We are not going to end up sweeping this. I'm going to wait and turn all this into steam first. And that way, all of it will be cooled just like our other system. I think this is about ready. Yeah, it was a little touch and go for a minute because some of these hot rocks that we had to burrow into, well, they made a mess. But it wasn't too bad. I just pumped it out. Don't mind this sour gas here. I have no idea how it came into existence. But we're loading up the cooling loop now. Looks like that is perfect. Deconstruct the bridge. And yes, we will end up putting 5 steam turbines in here, but I don't have a lot of room here. Because I made this tank that we'll eventually use, I'm sure, I needed to save enough room to be able to work with this geovent in the future. So I didn't really have a lot of space to put a liquid lock in. But it's not going to be a big deal anyways. The only reason it's still there right now is because I'm going to have to sweep all this stuff up and drop it over here. And that way we can handle it with our rail system. Looks like that is all finished. I can turn the aqua tuner on, say if it's above -30. Same sort of system. We have the battery here. We're going to set it on 90-70, just like all the other steam turbines. And that way the heat continuously builds in here. And all we should really have to do to pump more steam and everything else in is reconnect this geovent. I'm going to put a steel automatic dispenser, say right here. And all of these goodies here are going to be dropped off right here to eventually be rotated through and then on up, where we will also finish the conveyor rail system. Now, for the record, this past 5 cycles, we've had a use rate of about 82% on the steam turbines in our existing system. So we're going to give it 5-10 cycles. Now that we're adding this power to the grid, it should allow these not to have to work as much. And so I'm just waiting for this geothermal heat pump to hit 100% again. And so instead of it just spewing its steam and goodies in this area, it'll also spew them in this area. Same sort of a plumbing and automation system. If this temperature sensor detects that it's too hot in here, it'll reroute all of the coolant to come in here. Or if this Atmos sensor detects that there's less than 20 kilos worth of steam pressure, well, we want to maintain 20 kilos at the minimum. That is why this second liquid shutoff is red, to also redirect the coolant back in. The last piece of automation is obviously the battery, but we have an emergency thermosensor in here that says if it gets above 260, go ahead and start running anyways. Now the previous one is, hey, you can start throwing coolant in here when it's above 250 degrees. So we have kind of like a two-stage system to make sure nothing goes wrong. Now on this, I'm going to put sweep only and then everything under the sun. And we're not doing any other sweeping right now, so I'm going to put this on a 9. So when I sweep all of this, not only will the auto super help out, but all the duplicants will come down here and start stacking everything right here. But now for the connection to that geothermal power plant, it's going into this liquid pipe right here. We're leaving this middle one open for the eventual taming of this one. And I suppose I probably need to set an automation wire that if there's nothing running here, we can throw this in. Actually, we don't need automation for this system anymore, because if there's not water flowing, we should just allow this to flow, make it mechanical instead of electrical. And I can do that just by adding a bridge here. Now getting all three of these sort of perfectly in tune at the same time is going to present some challenges. And I think I'm just going to deal with them when they come. Oh, I do not want to do this. That would be a bad idea, because our steam turbines don't always run. So when they're not running, it doesn't mean that I want this to flow. It's because we're conserving power in here. So I think what we're going to do is remove this tool rack, demolish it, and I'm just going to put 3 separate liquid shutoffs here, and I'll connect them just like this. And I could just do the NOT gate here to send a green signal to this second liquid shutoff, but I'd rather keep them all the same. So I think we'll end up putting the NOT gate right here, something like that. And then I'll flip this to say below. If it is below 20 kilos, send a green signal. It'll flip this one to red to still shut it off. And then we can take this, run it all the way back. Ooh, no. And run it all the way back. We'll go up our ladder, skip over that, and then just come up over and in. So it'll allow more coolant to enter the geothermal heat pump, which will increase the pressure more, which will get us steam much quicker in the event that these are lower. Now, don't kid yourself. It doesn't matter what port you enter into. The geothermal heat pump is just waiting to get 100% pressure. But considering it's going to be splitting its exhaust between all 3 vents, if we need more pressure, we just need more pressure. So if one's too low and the other 2 are just fine, the other 2 will be able to handle the additional pressure. In other news, Brian has been inside the base this whole time and has just earned exosuit training. They have an athletics of 8, but they're no longer going to be getting the negative from the exosuit, which means they are now allowed outside. Little Alien is still 1 skill point away, and so once they get another 1100 experience, they will be allowed outside. The temperature in here is still coming up, and some of this is due to all the temperature shift plates that were nice and cool, the rails, the ladders. So it'll take another eruption or 2 to be able to get good power out of it, but our power situation is still not doing great. So I don't want to take a measurement quite yet, but I think this is ready to seal up. And all I have to really do to do that is put a block here and then start ripping all this out. Now the good thing is when I do seal this up and I start getting everything rotating around the rails, it's also going to heat this place up. And I just realized because the place was overpressuring, I did this a little wrong. Well, not a little wrong, a lot wrong. Our wonderful NOT gate was, there we go. Now it's heading in the right direction. Oops. And there we have it. Now all I have to do is say, anything you see you can pick up. Oh, there's little salt there. Where did this salt come from? Oh well, it's the salt of shame, because we're never getting in there to pick it up. Of course, I might be able to integrate both of these systems. Maybe with a 10 steam turbines? 2 geovents? I'm liking where this is going, but that'll be next time. And with this completed, I can now start concentrating on more important things. Like our new and improved Bonbon Farm. That's right, folks. Except I have no idea what it's going to look like. So you're going to have to give me a little bit on this too. But I suppose the first step is going to be bringing a bunch of bonbon seeds in. I can put the storage container here. Now the temperature here is minus 20 all the way across, not too shabby, which means these pips should be able to live. But a brief recap on pip planting rules is you need to start at the top and all the way to the right to make sure that the pips can actually plant where they're supposed to be planting. Because if there's 3 or more plants in an area, the pip will not plant. And that area ends up being a pretty large square. I did a whole pip planting tutorial at one point, and so even now those details escape me, but as long as you remember those rules, you should be okay. This one I want planted first. I am going to be using priority 0. That way the dupes don't actually come and build all these ladders. It is one of the few mods that I do recommend because it is absolutely great for planning and that sort of thing. Now another thing you're going to notice is I staggered the plants. So I plan on having a tree here, a tree here, and then a tree here. And that way, whatever lighting system we come up with, the lights on each level will be able to extend down lower. I'm not exactly sure, but I figured it'd be a good starting point. The dupes have been dropping off bonbon seeds. I don't think I'll quite need 1197, so I can put this on a priority of 0, and then we can go pip hunting. Come here, little buddies. Let's move this guy up here, and then hope that that livable range does not impact their ability to pip plant. The next eruption has began and we're up to about 150 degrees in here, which is exactly what I want to see because the hotter it is, up until about 225 degrees, the more power we're going to be getting. As it stands, with the amount of heat in here, we're only getting about 475 watts per steam turbine. Oh, I just remembered. I can put my last steam turbine in too. And I believe I put everything in the way it's supposed to, so nothing's going to interfere. Automation. We'll just bridge that over, and there we go. Now we get another 455 watts. Our pip has been dropped off, but so far does not want to put a bonbon seed in its mouth. It could be because this is too far away, so what I'm going to try to do is move this over here. I don't think this distance is too far away, but I'm still evaluating everything, and this is copper ore, which is not too hard for the pip to plant in, and there are no other plants around here. Sometimes the pip planting can be a little buggy, so I am going to try a quick reload. Not saying that's necessarily what it is, but I have been running at ×9 speed for a little while, so it's worth a try. Come on, Pippy! Just plant the seed! What am I doing wrong? A quick Google search brings up a fairly well-known forum post with some of the basic planting rules. And it's because of this 6 left and 6 down, in other words, the pip sees more to the left and down, is the reason why we go from the top down and from the right to the left. Oh, sweet glory, we finally have a bonbon tree. Grow, tree, grow. That took about, I'm guessing, 5 cycles, so this is gonna take me a little while. I'll see you after dinner. Maybe I'll get the second pip too. I just don't have another pip, so if this one perishes, I'm in trouble. I'm kinda liking what Ellie's got going on. They're a decorating, tidying, and farmer, which is a little bit of a hodgepodge, but we could always use more farmers. They also are, once again, frost-proof, which I kind of feel bad considering the last 3 dupes I've grabbed are frost-proof, but it just means they don't need a warm coat. We're past that part of the game. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 15, Jackie Mogg. Now, Jackie has a place to sleep already, but unfortunately, we do not have another seat. Well, until I get rid of these wood heaters. This will free up another 2 seats, and eventually we can throw some telephones in so I can grab another one here, all without having to expand our Great Hall. And I was in here assigning Jackie's skill points and making sure that they had a hat when I realized Little Alien has all the skill points they need for exosuit training. which means they get the super hat and they get to come out of the base. Congratulations, little alien. In the midst of all that headache, I couldn't figure out why the dupes weren't helping me move seeds around, and I saw this massive pile of worn atmosuits. So, okay, I'll bite. I go over to our exosuit forge. Surely enough, repair atmosuits. Oh, we're out of reed fiber. Why are we out of reed fiber? Because when I modified this ranch to fit in the deep fryer, I forgot to move the power over. Our next pod, I was debating on getting this ash can because they started with mechatronics engineering, but sadly they can't dig. I suppose I am trying to get up to the 16 duplicants, but instead we're going to grab the pink unitard since we have so many frost-proof dupes. We have people that can put on the special clothes. Yes, Brian, yes. You're doing amazing and you look great. After a little bit of fanfare, the whole first row has been planted. Well done, Hippie. You're about to become the mascot. Now I just have to move all these seeds down. We'll put them in the middle again. And the second row is also underway. As soon as we got further enough over, I felt safe enough to start putting bonbon trees on the second row. Although it's not a big deal with trees in pit planting, because if you're planting this way for maximum branch growth, you don't have to worry too much about how many plants are in that position. Also in the background, while I sit here and wait for pips to plant, I put in a nice glass forge. We've got plenty of sand, and so it's high in time that we get into glass. That way I could make some window tiles. Granted, it's going to take a lot of sand, and we're only sitting at about a ton right now, but this entire place is going to be chocked full of window tiles to help the light get from the top all the way down here. Because as you can see, a light bulb sitting on this top shelf right here actually does extend down to the bonbon trees. It's not a lot at that distance, but every little bit is going to help. Now, some of you are probably, Echo, use the mercury lights. They're new and amazing. The problem with the mercury lights is it requires mercury, 130 grams per second. And just like we talked about earlier, I like renewable resources, and I can't get any more mercury once we use it. So, no thank you. Now, I don't want to do too much building of the windows now because I want this glass to start stacking. We have it being cooled by the nectar, no big deal. But when we get a large enough stack down to, say, minus 30 degrees, and then another little blob of glass comes out, it averages when it combines with the rest of the glass. So I'm going to wait until I hit, I don't know, 25 tons worth. It's also the reason why I haven't set up this auto sweeper system to sort of control when the glass forge is being used. You can see I have the automation set to where if I set the smart storage bin and said, hey, once we get 20 tons of glass, you can turn off the glass forge. But if I did that, I'm a little worried it's not going to cool as much. As you can see, we're losing 0.1 every couple of seconds. And then after we put it in the storage bin, it is still reducing in temp. I'm just of the mindset I think it's a lot more effective when it's sitting on the metal tile. Oh, I wonder. Let's see how well it does if I drop a little bit of nectar right there. Let me separate it here and here. And that way the glass is literally sitting in a pool of nectar surrounded by metal tiles being cooled once again by nectar. Oh, wow. Look at the glass just dumping temperature now. This might be the way. In fact, I'm going to try to put it into a tile of about 500 kilos worth of nectar. That'll even do better because there'll be more of a medium for it to transfer its thermals. Oh, yeah. Look at this. This glass is losing its temps very, very quickly. I have no problems putting this inside of the smart bin now. And now when we do get a completed amount of glass, it drops down, drops a little bit of temp there, but the auto super then loads it into the smart storage bin. Yeah, it raises the temperatures a little bit, but then they just start driving down once again. In fact, what I can do to make this even better is to put a timer sensor on the auto sweeper. The timer sensor is going to tell the auto sweeper, hey, only activate once per cycle. And that way, the glass, as an example here, just absolutely dumps its thermals before it gets stored in the smart storage bin. Now, it won't work if I have idle dupes because even at a priority of 1, old JM Mort's here like, nope, glass goes inside the bin. Don't know if you were told. but on the assumption that we're not going to have too many idle dupes too often, we'll say 3 seconds out of every half a cycle. Over in our bonbon farm, pips are still doing work. Doing great. Ooh, we have another pip that wants to come help out. Here you go, buddy. Okay, something went weird. It says the geovents are unavailable, but you can see that they are connected and still working normal. Yeah, this one's overpressured because there's 120 kilos in it. I guess because one is overpressured, it's not going to dump into the other one. This is exactly what we were talking about as far as little issues like this that could cause problems. Oh, and the temperature's dropping because apparently a lot more brine came in here. So once again, we're having massive amount of power issues. Let's go ahead and pause molten glass production because it's 1200 watts. Oh, how am I going to get in here? Why, vent? Why? How did you get so much steam? I guess we'll try to empty what little exhaust is coming out of the steam turbines into here. It's probably a little too late because it is kind of chilly in here, but every once in a while these steam turbines do activate. Here we go. At least some of the liquid's going to be stored in these storage tanks, and I'll take out as much as I can. As you can see, the geovent is now starting to push out, yet this still says geovent unavailable. All connected geovents must be ready in order for this building to function. This one's ready. This one still has some pressure it has to get rid of. Okay, so we're waiting on this one. And if we look at the reclaim power plant, you can see the status of each of your vents. So this will take a little while to fix itself, but we should be okay. We're back up to 130 degrees. Hippie Jr. has now finished this entire row, so he can join the attack on this last row. And I'm almost ready. I'm so excited. I just need power to get sort of situated so I can turn the glass forge back on. Well, I guess it's going to happen whether or not I'm running the glass forge anyways. My goal is to take out about 30 tons, and then we'll reevaluate. I don't want either of these vents to ever get overpressured. And yes, you do lose a little bit of water, even though we're recycling all of it that we get, but you don't get the full 12 tons back. That's why we have this system here that'll fill in the gaps as we go, and it shouldn't affect the overall temperature too bad because it should be very little amount of that cold brine. So I found a place where I boo-booed. The pips stopped planting here because this is wolframite, and wolframite has a hardness of 150, which is nearly impenetrable, and the line of where they will plant is at 150, so under 150 is good, 150 and above bad. But we're going to be able to fix this. Easy peasy. Thank you, Gave Up, for doing a little magic. Yes. And just like that, we have another bonbon tree. We are mostly fixed. The temp's back up to 170 degrees when we only have 83 kilos worth of steam pressure in here. And this one is working great as well with 23 kilos. And our geothermal heat pump can start running again. Basically, what it's coming down to is you need to make sure the geovents are sort of synced. Now that they're both ready, when the geothermal heat pump fills up, it'll split the 12 tons in between the two chambers. And at last, we have 3 full rows of glorious bonbon trees. Now, this last row is going to be a little bit different. These 2 rows are going to be nothing but nectar production. This bottom row is going to be ethanol production. It's still a work in progress. We're getting there. Unfortunately, this bottom stable here looks a little large, which means I need to get rid of 8 tiles. I should be able to do that somewhere. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. We'll just get rid of this tree here, and now we have 2 96 tile ranches. Now you might be wondering why the rusted grooming station is all the way over here. It's because a lot of the light is going to be concentrated in the center, just based on where all the lamps are. So I'd rather not put the grooming station and all the equipment needed for the stables in the center, even though we are losing 1 glorious tree. Now, a question I have is I'd rather only use 1 sweepy. If I leave these doors open, will sweepy go through? We're gonna find out. Because if so, I could put sweepy in the middle. Sweepy could get their own room, and I could plant yet another tree right here. Let me go ahead and power up sweepy and see how far over they will go. What's on this line? Actually, no, I made a new transformer that's going to be running everything down here, or at least that's the goal. So I'll bring that down. Let's power up Sweepy and see if they'll go through. Sweepy can go through them! Oh, this is amazing! I really hope these things don't die before I can get to them. Grow, little bonbon trees, grow. Uh-oh, body temperature. Why did it get so warm over here all of a sudden? Oh, the glass tiles. The chill should spread back out. It should. Maybe next time I just don't build as many glass tiles at once. I'm probably going to need to get a cooling loop down here eventually, but that's a future problem. And it looks like our gas pump did not keep up. I changed it to 10, which then stifled the aloe vera, so I'm going to put this on a 9,000. Not a big deal. We still have 23 tons of oxalite. Ooh, I have all this wonderful carbon dioxide coming through here. I can use it. Granted, it's a horrible conductor. We'll use some steel radiant pipes and calm this place down, will you? Oh, the oxygen's at 19 degrees too. Ooh, I've got an idea. This might even be better because oxygen's a better conductor. We're about to use a whole lot of steel, just temporarily. And that way I can build everything I need in here without having to worry. And then I'm just going to tie it in here so we're actually using said oxygen. Little temporary gas loop thing. It's going to be fine. I mean, even the carbon dioxide was able to chill this place out. And that way I can go nuts with more window tiles and not have to worry about it. You can see the glass tile comes out at around 0 degrees. It quickly drops, but it starts off a little too warm. Let's see if we can get a better look at it when Mikey here is done. Oh yeah, 20 degrees. Even with all the projects we've got going on, we still are just grabbing more and more glass to load it in the smart storage bin. So this is just going to have to be a manual process for now. I don't love it, but it'll be fine. With Sweepy having a new home, we can now plant one more tree, say right here. I mean, it's not a have to, but it's a kind of nice to. Actually, that may not happen for quite some time because I can't find Pippi. Or Pippi Jr. or Pippi Sr. Ah, here they are. Perfect. Now I just need one bonbon tree seed. Let's disable this grooming station so we're not actually grooming Pippi. No, Sweepy, don't take the bonbon seed. I need to disable you. Actually, what I can do is open this door and then shut this one. So while we have the bonbon seed here, Sweepy won't come grab it. We've got more glass on the way. The dupes are making it just about as quick as they can. Pippi's being a little stubborn and doesn't want to plant this here. It's fine, they'll get around to it. And it's adorable, but Sweepy's all sorts of upset that the dock is disabled. I'm going to re-enable it. Sweepy keeps kicking it. I suppose we don't have to wait on Pippi to do that. I can just go ahead and put a bunch of mesh towels in here. Because remember, this is where the ethanol will flow down to. I suppose we can use Cinnabar. Just being careful not to clip any of these natural tiles. Way to go, Pippi. The last bonbon tree is planted. You can now go to your natural habitat. I know it'll be much better here for you. And I'll move your friends over here as well. And that way, if we ever need to call upon the Pippis again, we'll be able to. Oh, this is so nice. A quick update for you. Remember at the beginning of the episode, these steam turbines were running, what, 80, almost 90% of the time? Well, we're now down to 55%, which the cooling loop is able to keep up with. You can see the nectar's at minus 37. And we're back to kicking out items off the rail once every 50 seconds. My next step is going to be finishing off the window tiles, putting in some lighting, and then waiting for the branch growth. Remember, that's going to take, I believe, 18 cycles after the trunk is finished. So I'm going to do some fast forwarding here and I will keep you updated. And I really do want to make it as quick as possible because our spigot seals are starting to starve. So I am heading back up to this chilly biome and trying to get as much snow as we can for this last ditch effort. After that, we will no longer need snow on this planetoid. While I went on glass for windows, I changed the cooling loop a little bit and I'm going to make it permanent. This geyser erupts at minus 55°C, so it is a renewable source of chill. Well, the oxygen comes out around minus 20, and then one pipe is going to filter over here, split into two, and then rejoin back up here. The reason why we're using this pipe is because It's the oxygen pipe for the first 5 suits, which are the ones used the most. So we'll get the most movement of oxygen by using that pipe. We're almost there. We're getting a little bit of glass at a time. Plenty of sand. I could have just made another glass forge, but this is fine. I also have to go through the meticulous process of connecting every single nectar tree to some pipes. Oh, I think I should go below. That way the pipes are sort of hidden, like this. Oh, that's a little bit better. Now the bonbon trees below this level will not end up being connected, because remember the seals need that nectar. Now I'm probably going to need some sort of buffer tank system for these, because we're about to create a lot of nectar. Now granted, we're using a lot of it because I'm creating a whole mess of plastic. But for now, the nectar comes out. Oh, wait a minute. This is wrong. This is for ethanol. We will leave that like that. The nectar comes out, goes up through here, and then into the polymer press, which is currently the only reason why we need the nectar. So maybe a couple of nice buffer tanks right here at the top. Oh, this is glorious. And then we'll go straight back up, and it'll rejoin the polymer press. I'll probably also build a small tank where the nectar can dump down into it. That way, anytime I need cooling around the map, I can just enable auto bottle from there. We'll see. Lots of plans. The snow delivery did work out well. We still have 4 critters in here. Let's get another one. And that way they can drink and be merry before we end up moving them. And now what I believe everybody's probably been looking forward to, it's time to put in the ceiling lights. Now, of course, I think we're going to use the blossom ceiling lights because, you know, blossoming. We're going to make them out of cinnabar ore and then just do something like this. Yay! I mean, we could even do a couple more. Now, I know what you're thinking. How are we going to power 50 lights? Well, it's actually surprisingly affordable, because each light is only going to require 10 watts, which means one entire row will only require 500 watts. And then this is another 500, and then this will be 500. So that'll be 1500 watts. Now granted, that is constant. Guess I don't need some here. Plus we have a sweepy and a few pumps, so I think I'm going to need yet another power transformer. Told you we really needed to get that second geothermal vent up. Come off this old one right here and go down. Now I could do the painstaking madness of this to make it a little cleaner, but let's be honest, this is much easier. Oh, and it's so satisfying. I've never built 150 lights, so this is kind of nice. You know what? I say we give Sweepies some decoration in here too, huh? Their own blank canvas. We'll see what the dupes come up with for Sweepy. And something that I'm just now learning, the bonbon tree itself can grow regardless. But not only is light required for it to produce nectar, light's required for it to grow branches. That tree was planted first, yet this one already has 5% branch growth because it's now under light. Okay, I really wasn't planning on taking another dupe today. But check out this Ada, suit wearing, tidying, and operating, and their only negative is they're unempathetic. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 16, Chen Chen. Alright, our oxygen cooling system is not going to work. Apparently, with each light giving off 500 DTUs, it's causing a couple of these to stifle. Now, so far, not a lot of them have stifled on the second row, but the top row it's definitely happening, so... Okay. Now what do we do? Yep, I think we're extending the nectar loop again. It'll be okay. I just gotta figure out how to get everything down here. Actually, I don't know if that's a great idea. There's a lot of piping already in here, so... what else can we do? I suppose this loop has a lot of room and it doesn't work very long. I was thinking about just getting in there and putting in a thermal regulator, but then I realized not quite enough room. I mean, if I did some changes, though... I think the hardest part about this is actually going to be moving the liquid lock. Well, not hard, but, you know. And then we'll end up putting a thermal regulator right here. Oh, no. Hold on, Mercury. Hold on, you've got this. Similar situation to the thermal aqua tuner, but the thermal regulator has ports that are in different positions, but don't let it mess you up. If you're going to do it, just copy the same way. You're coming into the thermal aqua tuner. We're coming into the thermal regulator. We then go directly up to the bridge, and then the outputs connect. And it goes the same way on the thermal regulator. Now, right now, I just have this doing this. I'm going to separate all this once I fill this entire loop with oxygen. I'd rather use hydrogen because it's a much better conductor, but, well, we don't have any on hand right now. Now, the big question is going to be whether or not the thermal regulator can keep up with the cooling requirements for all this. Man, each light at 500 DTUs. It might be a bit much to ask, and we may have to go with the thermal aqua tuner instead. We'll see. Except now the lock's being a pain in the butt, and it keeps pushing the water further and further over. So right now, there's literally milligrams of steam in here, because my life is pain. Right now, we're venting a lot of heat out in this area, which is the reason why this looks so cool, and I am tired of messing with this. So we're just going to make a huge mess. And then what we're going to do is backfill the amount of steam pressure that we need just by using this brine. It's only a little bit of a mess. We're cleaning it now. It's going to be okay. Believe it or not, we still have a couple of bonbon trees growing. Not many. Really hoping this loop works. Brine is coming in. We're just dropping it off, which means we're going to see more salt of shame. I'll wait until we get a little bit more. Oh, that should be plenty. I'll hold it off there and see what that steam pressure is once it gets heated back up in here. Well, that sure didn't help our temperature issues, did it? All right, our gas cooling loop is activated. This oxygen is nice and cold, but I gotta be honest with you. Oxygen as a coolant, not great. We're talking about a thermal conductivity of 0.024 and a specific heat capacity of 1. So we're gonna see. First things first is I gotta fill the rest of this. So I will just take a little bit like that. And now the loop is filling as planned. I'll just make sure I chop it off before we get too full. I already have the regulator running. And now that I got my steel production back, I am going to replace these last little insulated tiles with some more steel, which will give us the best chance at being able to cool this place down. I wasted about 7 tons of steel in this monstrosity. And so far, it's not looking great. Maybe we went overboard with the lights. I don't know. We'll see. And next up on Echo Ridge Gaming, we're going to do another dumb thing. So far, this is not working. I've been keeping an eye on this tile right here, and the oxygen's coming back around at around 13 degrees. And it started higher than that, which means we're losing the fight. Well, we're not losing the fight by much, so I've got another idea. We're just going to add another thermal regulator. I'm going to put it right here. Hopefully we can reach. I can put some ladders in. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to tie the automation, in other words, the thermo sensor, into both. So it'll come into one and then go into the second one. So if this one runs, this one's definitely going to run, which makes these in series. So we'll go like this, just like before, tie that in, and then come right back up. Maybe. Well, voila! Now all I have to do is back out of this place, nice and gentle like, while we hope that the soft lock made out of 34 grams of mercury holds. Never be scared to change your plan. This was not working. We had some of them actually hitting some growth, but that's just because of the chill over here. The oxygen just wasn't doing a good enough job. Third time's the charm. Don't worry, we've got another glorious liquid lock. I'm in the process of changing all the piping and wanted to show you this weird bug. These are unknown tiles, which means I can't build through them, despite the fact that we've clearly been here before. So this is going to get a little icky, but nothing I can really do about that. I have tried reloading, but we have to do what we have to do. Closing this up, I realized this metal tile was connected directly into the steam room. Look, it's been a long day of recording. Sometimes I have to even treat myself with a grain of salt. The good news, though, is we're able to take out the salt of shame. Nectar truly is the gift that keeps on giving. Our nectar's coming in at 49 degrees and leaving it 35, and this entire area is tanking down significantly in temperature. In fact, every single tree is now growing. I've moved over the spigot seals. I inadvertently completely forgot that these aren't actually tiles, and so I started draining ethanol all the way down here. I've also increased each spigot seal ranch to 7 critters, considering Well, we're producing a lot more lux than we were at our old ranch. We get as high as, I don't know what, 9420? Even the top row is sitting at 6,000. I'm also going to be transferring wild shine bugs here as we get them, which is only going to make this place even brighter. I think I spent a full 100 cycles on this episode, and I am sure when I get it to the editing room floor, I'm going to be smacking myself in the jibs. The moral of the story? Don't use thermal regulators when you can just use the thermal aqua tuner. And the plumbing actually doesn't look too bad once I took the time to do it right. I'm looking forward to showing you what this looks like when it's fully producing here in the next episode. Now I have to get rid of all of this, and I don't know what we're going to turn this area into yet. We're also going to be producing a lot more ethanol with over double the amount of spigot seals. So it looks like we will be able to start using petroleum generators as a backup power source, but as you can tell, I'm going to have to fix this system too. I hope you enjoyed this chaos-filled episode and learned something from all my mistakes. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.